Welcome to Hidden Files, the podcast that delves into the stories behind the artifacts and treasures that were lost, stolen, or hidden throughout history. I'm Denise Brooks, and with me today is George Mitchell. In this episode, we're shedding light on the haunting legacy of Nazi-looted assets, the stories they carry, and the ongoing efforts to right historical wrongs.
Thank you, Denise. It's crucial that we remember and discuss these stories to ensure that the atrocities of the past are not forgotten and that justice is pursued.
We're delving into a dark chapter of history, Nazi looting. This systematic campaign of plunder during World War II was not just about acquiring riches, it was a calculated strategy to strip conquered territories of their cultural heritage, wealth, and identity.
Absolutely, Denise. The Nazis' looting operation was extensive and meticulously orchestrated. As they swept through Europe, they seized artwork, gold, jewelry, and other valuables from museums, galleries, private collections, and even individuals.
Yes, George, and this wasn't just about accumulating wealth for the Third Reich. It was also about erasing the histories and identities of the people and cultures they subjugated. Artworks that held deep cultural significance were torn from their rightful owners and nations.
The sheer scale of this looting is staggering. Think about the famous libraries that were ransacked, ancient manuscripts that were stolen, and religious artifacts that were pillaged. The Nazis aimed to rewrite history by erasing the evidence of the cultures they sought to dominate.
And what's particularly tragic is that this looting had real, lasting consequences. Families lost irreplaceable heirlooms and cultural artifacts that connected them to their past, and entire communities lost parts of their history and heritage.
It's heartbreaking, Denise. And let's not forget the cultural artifacts that were targeted for their artistic and historical value. Paintings, sculptures, and artifacts from renowned artists and civilizations were ripped from their contexts and often stored in hidden caches.
And that leads us to the infamous Monuments Men, a group of individuals who worked tirelessly to locate and recover these stolen treasures. These dedicated experts faced dangerous conditions to save artworks from destruction and repatriate them to their rightful places.
Right, Denise. The Monuments, Fine Arts, and Archives program was established to protect cultural heritage during and after the war. These individuals risked their lives to ensure that the world's artistic and historical treasures wouldn't be lost forever.
But despite their efforts, not all the stolen items have been recovered or returned to their rightful owners. Many pieces are still missing, and their absence continues to leave a void in the historical and cultural landscape.
That's a critical point, Denise. The hunt for these lost treasures is ongoing, and it's a reminder of the need to remain vigilant in the face of historical theft and injustice. It's also a testament to the power of these artifacts to connect us to our shared human story.
Absolutely, George. The stories of Nazi looting serve as cautionary tales, reminding us of the importance of preserving and protecting cultural heritage in times of conflict. It's through understanding the past that we can strive for a more just and compassionate future.
Well said, Denise. Join us after the break as we continue to explore the complex web of issues surrounding Nazi-looted assets, including the challenges of restitution and the pursuit of justice. Now, we're delving into a topic that reveals the heartbreaking extent of the Nazis' atrocities, the looting of assets belonging to Holocaust victims. This dark chapter underscores the depths of the cruelty inflicted by the Nazi regime.
That's right, George. When we discuss Nazi looting, we must confront the human stories behind each stolen possession. The Holocaust resulted in the systematic persecution and murder of millions, and the Nazis exploited this unimaginable suffering to amass wealth.
It's a tragic irony that even as families were torn apart and lives were lost, the Nazis were busy stripping victims of their belongings. From jewelry that had been passed down through generations to family photographs that captured moments of happiness, everything was seized.
And George, we can't overlook the personal mementos that were taken. These items held immense sentimental value: a child's toy, a prayer book, a wedding ring. These possessions represented the fabric of individuals' lives, and their loss was an additional layer of pain.
The enormity of this tragedy is difficult to comprehend. Holocaust survivors were not only stripped of their freedom and dignity, but also their tangible connections to their pasts. It's a stark reminder that the Holocaust wasn't just a historical event, it had enduring, personal impacts on countless lives.
And even after the war ended, the challenges didn't. The process of restitution became a labyrinthine journey for survivors and their families. Identifying stolen assets, proving ownership, and navigating legal systems were monumental tasks on top of the trauma they had already endured.
Exactly, Denise. The concept of restitution, while necessary, can be incredibly complex. Some assets were never recovered, while others changed hands multiple times, making it challenging to determine rightful ownership.
And there's another layer to this complexity, the psychological impact. For survivors and their descendants, the looting of assets represents a painful rupture in their family histories. The loss of these items further severed the connection to a pre-war life that many never had the chance to experience.
It's a profound tragedy, Denise, and it's a stark reminder that behind each looted item is a human story that must be acknowledged and respected. As we grapple with the ethical and legal implications of restitution, we must also recognize the emotional weight these possessions carry.
And George, we must honor the efforts of individuals, organizations, and governments that have worked tirelessly to uncover the stories behind these stolen possessions. The pursuit of justice and restitution is a way to acknowledge the suffering that took place, and to reaffirm our commitment to preventing such atrocities in the future.
Well said, Denise. The theft of assets from Holocaust victims adds another layer of darkness to an already tragic period of history. As we continue our exploration, we'll delve into the intricate process of restitution and the complexities of navigating the legal and ethical challenges that arise.
Join us in our next segment as we continue our journey through the shadowy corners of history and shed light on the ongoing efforts to right these historical wrongs. In this segment, we're going to delve into the complexities of a process that's integral to righting the wrongs of the past, the challenge of restitution. I'm Denise Brooks, and with me is George Mitchell.
And Dave, Denise, restitution is an essential step toward rectifying the injustices of Nazi looting. However, the road to restitution is fraught with obstacles, from legal complexities to the emotional weight of history.
Absolutely, George. The first hurdle often lies in identifying the rightful owners or heirs of stolen assets. Many records were destroyed during the war, and families were often decimated, making it difficult to prove ownership definitively.
And even when ownership is established, the process of reclaiming stolen assets can be a bureaucratic maze. Survivors or their descendants may need to navigate legal systems in multiple countries, each with its own laws and regulations.
And let's not forget the role of complicit organizations and individuals. Many artworks and assets changed hands multiple times, making it challenging to trace their origins and establish a clear chain of ownership.
That's a crucial point, Denise. Some museums, galleries, and private collectors unknowingly acquired looted art, while others may have been more complicit in acquiring stolen assets. Deciding what is fair and just in terms of restitution requires careful consideration of these factors.
And George, there's the question of cultural context. Some stolen artifacts have been part of museum collections for decades. Returning them may be ethically right, but it can also create complex moral dilemmas for institutions and curators.
You're right, Denise. Restitution isn't just about returning objects. It's about acknowledging the broader historical and cultural implications. This process demands a nuanced understanding of the significance of these items to the affected communities.
And George, restitution is more than just a legal or bureaucratic process. It's deeply emotional. For survivors and their families, the return of stolen assets can be a powerful reconnection with their heritage and a step toward healing.
Absolutely. These objects are often more than just possessions. They're symbols of resilience and survival. But, on the other hand, the process can also reopen old wounds, reminding individuals and families of the traumas they endured.
The emotional aspect is indeed complex, George. There's also the broader societal aspect to consider. Restitution efforts shine a light on historical injustices and force us to confront uncomfortable truths about the past.
Very true, Denise. But even with these challenges, the pursuit of restitution is essential. It's a testament to our commitment to acknowledging and rectifying the wrongs of history, as well as to our dedication to preserving cultural heritage for future generations.
As we continue our journey, we'll delve into the various initiatives and organizations that are dedicated to facilitating restitution. These efforts, often requiring international collaboration, are essential for ensuring that the stolen legacies of the past are finally returned to their rightful owners.
In our next segment, as we navigate the intricate world of international agreements and legal frameworks designed to address the complexities of restitution. In this segment, we're delving into the post-war restitution process, a complex and multifaceted endeavor aimed at addressing the injustices of Nazi looting.
That's right, George. The aftermath of World War II brought with it a wave of reckoning, not just for the devastation caused by the war itself, but also for the widespread looting of cultural heritage and personal possessions.
And Denise, the process of restitution was not just about returning stolen objects. It was about acknowledging the suffering endured by Holocaust victims and the wider impact of cultural theft on the affected communities.
Absolutely. The restitution process was founded on principles of justice and acknowledgement. The stolen treasures represented not only individual loss, but also the collective memory and identity of entire nations.
And this wasn't a one-size-fits-all process. Each case was unique, influenced by factors such as the type of item, its cultural significance, and the circumstances under which it was stolen.
That's an important point, George. Restitution encompassed a range of objects, from artworks and cultural artifacts to personal belongings and even financial assets. The process involved identifying the rightful owners or heirs and then navigating legal and ethical considerations.
And speaking of legal considerations, international agreements played a vital role in shaping the restitution process. The 1945 Yalta Conference, for instance, addressed the repatriation of stolen assets and established the groundwork for subsequent restitution efforts.
Right, George. The Tripartite Commission for the Restitution of Monetary Gold was another significant initiative. Its goal was to return gold reserves that had been seized by the Nazis from various central banks.
And let's not forget the role of organizations like the Monuments, Fine Arts, and Archives Program, the famous Monuments Men. These individuals were dedicated to locating and recovering stolen artworks, ensuring they were returned to their rightful owners or nations.
But George, even with these efforts, not all stolen treasures were recovered or returned. The passage of time, changing ownership, and the sheer scale of looting created challenges that persisted long after the war ended.
Absolutely, Denise. The ongoing impact of Nazi looting reminds us that history's echoes linger, influencing the present and future. The stories of restitution are both tales of justice and cautionary tales about the consequences of unchecked power.
And the process of restitution didn't just focus on material objects. It extended to acknowledgement and commemoration, memorials, educational initiatives, and museums dedicated to the Holocaust and the stolen cultural heritage emerged as powerful ways to ensure that the stories of those affected are remembered.
As we continue our exploration, we'll delve deeper into the ethical considerations surrounding restitution. These conversations force us to confront questions about ownership, responsibility, and the impact of historical injustices on our modern world.
In our next segment, as we explore the profound ethical dilemmas faced by institutions, nations, and individuals when it comes to addressing the legacy of Nazi looting through the lens of restitution. Welcome back to Hidden Files. In this segment, we're going to dive into some of the most intriguing and poignant stories of art theft during World War II, stories that illustrate the complex and often heartbreaking journey of looted artworks. I'm Denise Brooks, and I'm here with George Mitchell.
Indeed, Denise. Art theft during the war was more than just a heist. It was a calculated strategy to erode cultures, strip identities, and amass wealth. These stolen artworks became symbols of power and control for the Nazis.
Exactly, George. The Nazis didn't just loot art for its monetary value, they recognized the immense cultural significance of these pieces. The art was often used to promote their ideologies, project influence, and even decorate their own spaces.
And some of the most iconic artworks of our time were caught up in this tragic episode of history. Take the portrait of Adele Bloch-Bauer by Gustav Klimt, an artwork that carried deep cultural and personal meaning for its rightful owners.
The story of the portrait of Adele Bloch-Bauer is a tale of loss, reclamation, and justice. The painting was seized by the Nazis, and after the war, it became a symbol of the broader efforts to restitute stolen artworks to their rightful owners.
And then there's the story of Eduard Manitz in the Conservatory. This painting was looted from a Jewish collector and ended up in the possession of Hermann Göring, one of Hitler's top officials. The intricate journey of this artwork is a microcosm of the larger narrative of looted art.
And George, let's not forget the Monuments Men, a group of individuals committed to preserving cultural heritage during the war and recovering stolen art afterward. These dedicated men and women braved dangerous conditions to rescue priceless artworks from destruction.
That's right, Denise. The stories of these individuals highlight the power of art to connect us to our shared human story. Their efforts not only saved masterpieces but also preserved the narrative they carried, stories of survival, resistance, and resilience.
But George, even though some artworks have been successfully restituted, the challenge of stolen art persists today. Many pieces remain missing, and the pain of their absence continues to reverberate through generations.
Absolutely, Denise. The stories of stolen art are a reminder that while the physical objects may have been lost, the narratives they embody are still very much alive. The pursuit of justice and restitution for these artworks is a way to honor their stories and the stories of those who suffered.
Join us in our next segment as we delve into the role of organizations and initiatives dedicated to uncovering the stories of stolen art and the ongoing efforts to ensure that these masterpieces are returned to their rightful homes.
Welcome back to Hidden Files. In this segment, we're delving into a mystery that has captured the world's imagination, the legend of the Nazi gold train. I'm George Mitchell, and I'm here with Denise Brooks.
That's right, George. The story of the Nazi gold train is shrouded in intrigue and hidden secrets, a tale that speaks to our fascination with uncovering history's mysteries.
The legend tells of a train laden with stolen gold, artwork, and valuables that was hidden in a tunnel in Poland toward the end of World War II. It's a tale that sounds like something out of an adventure novel.
And while there's no definitive proof of the train's existence, the very idea of such a cache of treasures captures our collective imagination. The notion of hidden secrets from a tumultuous time speaks to our fascination with the unknown.
Absolutely, Denise. It's a testament to the power of stories and how they can capture our attention, even decades after the events they're based on. The legend of the Nazi gold train highlights our desire to uncover hidden truths from history.
And it's not just the gold train. There are numerous hidden stories from the war, stories of stolen treasures, secret operations, and lost artifacts. These stories serve as a reminder that history is never fully uncovered. There are always hidden corners waiting to be illuminated.
That's a profound point, Denise. The study of history is a constant journey of discovery, and as we uncover these hidden stories, we gain a deeper understanding of the complexities and nuances of the past.
And George, these hidden stories often remind us that history is not just a series of distant events, it's made up of the actions and decisions of individuals. Uncovering hidden treasures or stories from the past humanizes history and connects us to those who lived through it.
And in the case of the Nazi gold train, it also raises questions about responsibility. If such a train were to be found, what should be done with its contents? Should the assets be returned, and if so, to whom? These questions echo the broader discussions surrounding restitution.
That's true, George. The stories of hidden treasures like the Nazi gold train remind us that history is not just a linear narrative, it's a tapestry of interconnected events, secrets, and legacies that continue to shape our world.
As we continue our exploration, we'll delve into the role of hidden stories in shaping our understanding of history. From forgotten artifacts to buried truths, these stories remind us that history is alive, waiting to be uncovered, and that its lessons continue to resonate.
Join us in our next segment as we discuss the ethical and moral considerations surrounding hidden secrets and the ongoing quest to bring them to light. In this segment, we're delving into a complex and controversial aspect of the aftermath of World War II, the role of Swiss banks in dealing with Nazi-looted assets.
Indeed, Denise, the issue of Swiss banks and their involvement with Nazi-looted assets raises profound ethical concerns. It's a reminder that financial institutions can become entangled in historical events in ways that have far-reaching consequences.
The involvement of Swiss banks in these events is a painful reminder that the consequences of war and conflict extend beyond the battlefield. Financial institutions played a role in facilitating the looting of assets and, in some cases, harboring stolen wealth.
And Denise, it's important to note that the Swiss banking system was not the only one involved. Other financial institutions in neutral countries also faced allegations of complicity in handling looted assets.
Absolutely, George. The role of these banks raises questions about the responsibility of financial institutions to ensure that they're not unknowingly facilitating criminal activities or profiting from the suffering of others.
The ethical dilemmas extend beyond the wartime period. After the war, Swiss banks faced accusations of not doing enough to return stolen assets or provide restitution to victims and their families.
That's a critical point, George. The question of restitution is complex, not just in terms of physical objects, but also in terms of financial compensation. The looted wealth held in these banks represents a form of stolen inheritance and heritage.
And Denise, it's not just a matter of returning wealth or possessions. It's about acknowledging the impact of these actions on the lives of individuals and communities. The ethical dimensions of restitution are profound and extend beyond legal obligations.
And George, these events also highlight the importance of transparency and accountability in the financial sector. It's a reminder that financial institutions must be vigilant in preventing their services from being used to facilitate criminal activities.
And it's not just about learning from history, it's about taking action to ensure that such events are not repeated. Initiatives to promote transparency, ethical behavior, and responsible banking practices have emerged as crucial steps in preventing future complicity.
As we continue our exploration, we'll delve into the lessons learned from the Swiss banking controversy and the ongoing efforts to ensure that financial institutions play a role in upholding ethical standards and preventing the misuse of their services.
Join us in our next segment as we discuss the importance of financial accountability and the role that institutions can play in shaping a more just and responsible future. Now, we're diving into the heart of the matter, the legal and ethical challenges that arise in the pursuit of justice and restitution for Nazi-looted assets.
That's right, George. The pursuit of justice is often complex, and when it comes to Nazi-looted assets, the legal and ethical considerations are particularly intricate. It's a constant balancing act between the past, the present, and the future.
The legal challenges are multifaceted. They range from statutes of limitations and jurisdictional issues to the difficulty of tracing ownership through the convoluted pathways that looted assets often took.
And these challenges are compounded by the passage of time. As years turn into decades, the task of establishing a clear and verifiable chain of ownership becomes increasingly difficult.
But Denise, the ethical considerations are equally profound. How do we define justice for crimes committed in the distant past? How do we acknowledge the suffering of victims and their descendants while respecting the principles of modern legal systems?
It's a delicate balance, George. The legal frameworks that govern restitution today were not necessarily in place at the time these crimes were committed. We're grappling with how to address historical wrongs while working within contemporary legal norms.
And this raises questions about accountability as well. Many of those who were directly responsible for the looting and crimes have long since passed away. How do we hold institutions accountable for their roles, and how do we ensure that the lessons of history are learned?
These are difficult questions, George, and they become even more complex when we consider the global nature of the issue. Nazi looting involved not just individuals, but also nations, institutions, and entire economies.
That's a crucial point, Denise. The complexities of international law and diplomacy come into play. Initiatives like the Washington Principles on Nazi-Confiscated Art, which provides guidelines for dealing with stolen cultural property, help to establish a framework for action.
And George, the pursuit of justice and restitution is about more than just legalities. It's about acknowledging the suffering of individuals and communities, and it's a testament to our commitment to prevent such atrocities from happening again.
As we continue our exploration, we'll delve into the ongoing efforts of governments, organizations, and individuals to address these legal and ethical challenges. The pursuit of justice may be complex, but it's a moral imperative that continues to guide us toward a more just world.
Join us in our next segment as we discuss the impact of these challenges on the lives of survivors, their families, and the broader cultural landscape. Now, we're shining a light on the ongoing efforts and initiatives aimed at addressing the legacy of Nazi looting and ensuring that justice and restitution prevail. I'm Denise Brooks, and I'm here with George Mitchell.
That's right, Denise. Despite the challenges we've discussed, there's a ray of hope in the form of dedicated individuals, organizations, and governments working tirelessly to right historical wrongs.
Absolutely, George. These efforts are a testament to our commitment to learning from the past and creating a better future. They send a powerful message that we will not allow history's injustices to fade into obscurity.
One of the landmark initiatives in this regard is the Washington Principles on Nazi-Confiscated Art. Adopted in 1998, these principles provide a framework for museums and cultural institutions to research their collections, identify stolen artworks, and facilitate restitution when appropriate.
And George, many countries have established specialized agencies or committees to address the issue of stolen cultural property. These entities work to investigate claims, establish ownership, and facilitate the return of looted art to its rightful owners.
Right, Denise. And it's important to acknowledge the role of survivor organizations and advocates who have been instrumental in keeping this issue in the public eye. Their tireless efforts have brought attention to the stories behind the stolen assets.
And George, technological advancements have also played a role in these efforts. The digital age has made it easier to catalog and share information about stolen artworks, increasing the chances of locating and recovering them.
That's a great point, Denise. The internet has transformed the way we access information and collaborate globally. This connectivity has proven invaluable in the pursuit of justice and restitution for stolen cultural property.
and George, the stories of successful restitution efforts are stories of triumph over adversity. These victories demonstrate that even in the face of complex legal and ethical challenges, justice can prevail.
These efforts also underscore the power of empathy and our shared commitment to preserving cultural heritage. The return of stolen art and artifacts is not just about objects, it's about acknowledging the value of our shared history.
And George, the stories of successful restitution efforts are stories of triumph over adversity. These victories demonstrate that even in the face of complex legal and ethical challenges, justice can prevail.
These efforts also underscore the power of empathy and our shared commitment to preserving cultural heritage. The return of stolen art and artifacts is not just about objects, it's about acknowledging the value of our shared history.
And George, as we move forward, these ongoing efforts remind us that history is not just a reflection of the past, it's a living continuum that shapes our present and future. By addressing the injustices of the past, we strive for a more equitable and compassionate world.
Absolutely, Denise. As we wrap up this episode, let's remember that the pursuit of justice and restitution is not just about correcting historical wrongs, but also about ensuring that the stories of those who suffered are heard and honored.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Nazi-looted assets, the challenges of restitution, and the ongoing efforts to right these historical wrongs. Join us next time on Hidden Files as we continue to delve into the stories that shape our understanding of the past and guide us toward a more enlightened future.
From all of us here at Hidden Files, thank you for listening.
In our final segment, we're delving into the profound connection between cultural heritage and memory, how the preservation of our shared history is intertwined with our ability to remember, learn, and grow. I'm Denise Brooks, and I'm here with George Mitchell.
Indeed, Denise. The stories we've explored throughout this podcast underscore the crucial role that cultural heritage plays in shaping our understanding of the past and the present.
That's right, George. Cultural heritage is more than just artifacts. It's a living testament to the achievements, struggles, and triumphs of our ancestors. It's a window into the worlds they inhabited, the stories they lived, and the lessons they learned.
And Denise, our ability to remember is closely linked to our cultural heritage. It's through these physical and tangible artifacts that we connect with the narratives that have shaped us as individuals, communities, and societies.
Absolutely. When we lose cultural heritage, we risk losing a part of our collective memory. This is particularly poignant when we think about the impact of Nazi looting, not just on the physical artifacts themselves, but on the memories and identities they represented.
The preservation of cultural heritage is an act of defiance against the forces of time and conflict. It's a way to say that the stories of the past matter, that they hold significance for our present and future.
And George, the process of restitution is not just about returning stolen objects. It's about restoring the narratives that were disrupted by war and looting. It's a way to heal the wounds of history and reaffirm the importance of memory.
It's also a reminder that cultural heritage is a shared responsibility. Institutions, governments, and individuals all play a role in safeguarding our history for future generations.
And that responsibility extends beyond physical objects. It's about acknowledging the stories of individuals, families, and communities who were affected by these historical events.
And Denise, it's not just about the past. The stories we uncover, the lessons we learn, they shape our present and guide our future. Cultural heritage serves as a foundation for dialogue, understanding, and reconciliation.
As we close this episode, let's reflect on the power of cultural heritage to connect us across time and space. It's a reminder that while the artifacts themselves may age and fade, the stories they carry continue to resonate.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through history, a journey that reminds us of the importance of cultural heritage and memory in shaping our world. From all of us here at Hidden Files, thank you for listening.
Join us next time as we continue to unearth the stories that illuminate our past and guide us toward a more enlightened future.